Hello, welcome back. We're reading from my book, Days of Ragnarok. I'm the author, Tyler Woods, and we pick up on page 263. Settling in. The ride to Terlingua is slow but enjoyable. We're in no hurry, and there are many memories to sift through as we pass landmarks that trigger them. Anticipation mounts as new visits come into view. We finally get word that we're about there. Turning into a cluster of buildings that defines Terlingua, it's not evident that it could accommodate our needs, but half the camp is already here and settled in. There's obviously more to Terlingua than meets the eye. Scott is first to meet the trucks. Glad you made it. We sure missed you guys. It feels like reunion time. Grinning, I reply, after only one night? I didn't think we were that close, Scott. Leaving the truck, I reach to shake Scott's hand, and we start unloading bundles. This is the last of it. We left a small cache of food and water, but not much. How are things here? Is everyone finding a spot to call home? This place is pretty nice, says Scott. It's a big step up from camp. Nikki teamed up with the innkeeper's wife, Adelaide. You'll like her. And they put people in rooms together pretty well. They even have rooms all picked out for the rest of you. I think they have you bunked in the goat shed. Thanks, Scotty, says Anna. It's always good to know you have my back. Scott helps carry our bags to a wagon-like cart. It's a bit of a walk to your room, but you'll like it. Scott leads the way. Anna replies, Good, I can use a walk. We follow a path with signs pointing to a ghost town. Other signs that are marked Viper Crossing, and Anna speaks up again. Scotty, I think I might prefer the goat shed. Where are you taking us? With a big grin, Scott replies, You're going to love this. The guest rooms are actually in the ghost town. In fact, some of the rooms are restored ghost town buildings. Don't judge this book by the cover. You got to see this place. At least I see some of the others from camp, and none of them appear unhappy. Everyone's relaxing and appears to be taking a day off. Nobody seems to know what to do, apart from exploring new surroundings. We pass ruins of derelict buildings and arrive at a beautifully restored cottage. Anna comments, This is nice. How many are bunked here? Scott stops pulling the cart and answers, That depends on how many you invite to sleep over. This is all yours. And Jason's. Welcome, sort of home. You're kidding, I reply. You mean there are enough lodgings for everyone to have their own place? Not exactly, he says. There were enough lodgings for all the families to have their own place, but we single scum have to bunk up. Scott is smiling at his self-deprecating humor. Actually, we chose it that way. All the single guys are on fold-a-beds and staying in a place that used to be used for conferences. We still have soft mattresses, clean sheets, and private showers, so there's no love lost. We've kind of grown on each other, so the company is good. The single girls all took one of the bigger family cabins, and everybody is happy. I can tell you this, I slept really good last night. Wait till you explore the wonders of modern living. Entering the cottage, Anna is delighted. This is beautiful. Jason, I can't believe it. I am impressed, but Dad, 5 months ago we would have just said this was nice. It's amazing how the end of the world can change your perspective. It does look good after such a long time. Scott is hardly gone, and I hear water running. Anna has found the shower. She doesn't run the water for long, and I hear her excitedly call to me, Jason, they have soaps and shampoo here. I think I've died and gone to heaven. You have to see this shower. It's made like a stone wall. The water runs and stops a few times more before Anna asks me, Are the windows closed? I mean the curtains. With a quick pull on the cord to close the blinds, I answer, All secure on the western front. Anna emerges from the shower area wrapped in a big bath towel. She is radiantly smiling as if she had ridden her first horse. I feel wonderful. Then she wraps her wet arms around my neck and plants a big soggy kiss on me. Pulling her head back, she shakes her head and sprays me with water from her wet hair. I kiss her back and say, Hold on, beautiful. There's water enough for me to take my own shower. Anna goes to our bags to find some clean clothes to put on, and when she bends over, I pop her on the backside as I head for a quick shower myself. I'm going to like this place. It's amazing how good you feel after a real shower. It's not that the splash baths we had at camp didn't get the job done, but there are always a line waiting for you to get done so they could clean up. Having our own shower is a luxury. We find most of our leadership team, along with Travis, in the large building near the road. They are meeting with Lucas and Adelaide Maxwell. Mom is speaking with Adelaide. Adelaide, I want to thank you again for the kindness in offering us refuge for the winter. Whatever we can do to help is yours for the asking. Adelaide replies, Cynthia, I have to confess, I wasn't too sure what was coming on us when Lucas told me y'all were going to stay. But when your precious families arrived, I was sure it was the Lord's doing. These children have slain my heart, and I'm glad you're here. Lucas interrupts. To tell the truth, we was getting pretty lonely and thought about leaving. There's a few ranchers left, and we can reach them on the ranch radios, but some of them are thinking we's all that's left. Don't look like we'll be spending a lonely winter this year. Lucas's smile is a mile wide. Fred speaks up. We don't mean to be an inconvenience to you folks. We have a lot of talented people, and each are hard workers. Even the children have learned to pull their weight. We can cook, clean, wash, mend, and build. At camp, we had daily routines and projects that kept everyone busy all day. It would be a big help to us if you could provide us with a list of things you need done. I'm not sure this group knows how to act if they are idle. Crews form as food supplies are loaded into storerooms. Adelaide shows Stephanie and Christy the restaurant kitchen as Roxy and her crew locates the laundry area. There's still no electricity, but the stoves run on propane, and the ladies quickly design work teams to begin setting up a clothesline. I'm amazed again at how well our people rise to a challenge. I just hope Lucas and Adelaide don't become overwhelmed by our invasion. Lunch is served in the restaurant with Lucas and Adelaide joining most of the leadership team at their table. The restaurant is also a theater and saloon, but hasn't had much business since the crash. Anna and I sit across the table from Mom and Dad. Lucas comments, we haven't eaten in here in months, since the country sort of went south. Adelaide and me has been all there was. No sense firing up that big stove for just the two of us. It's a grand room. I've always liked it here. Mom notices Anna's hair. Anna, your hair looks very pretty today. Anna is anxious to tell Mom they have real shampoo and soaps here. I couldn't wait to use a real shower. It was heaven and it smells so good. I'll be looking forward to that, Mom replies. Tell me about your room. Where did they find for you? They call it Clem's room for some reason, but it's elegant and I love it. The shower is made of stone and is beautiful. Have you been to your place yet? Mom answers, we're sharing the Cinnabar suite with Fred and Irene. We have two separate rooms, just like camp. With a twinkle in Mom's eye, she leans toward Anna and says, we must have you over after the maid cleans up. Both ladies laugh as Harry stands and gets everyone's attention. Harry speaks, can I have everyone's attention? The room grows quiet. Thanks. I believe I share a common feeling that God has been caring for us and providing for our needs during these difficult times. Camp was a blessing for its protected location and also for its needs. The work we accomplished kept us occupied and our minds from worries beyond our abilities. Now we have found another temporary place that affords us protection from the cold of winter. On behalf of us all, I offer thanks to Lucas and Adelaide Maxwell for being our gracious host. The room erupts in applause. I would also like to offer a prayer of gratitude for God's care and have asked Alan Duncan to lead us in that prayer. Alan stands as hands fold and heads bow. Gracious Father, we offer thanks for your protective hand and the provision that you've made for our many needs. May your blessings fall on this place and your angels protect it from harm. Thank you for your grace shown to us through the Maxwells, and may your blessing also fill their lives. We rest our future, our health, and our path in your care. In the blessed name of Jesus, amen. A unified amen rises from the room as Dad stands and announces, we'll meet tonight after dinner here to discuss plans for the future of our camp, of our group. I find it hard to call you a group because I feel more like we are a family than anything else. God bless each of you and thank you for getting us here. We couldn't have done this without each of you making it happen. Adelaide sees everyone bust their own dishes, and as each table is cleared and chairs set in order, she says, I think I'm going to like this bunch more and more. They sure are housebroken. A hearty chuckle rises from the group as at the table they are with. We all head back to our rooms or continue exploring this old mining camp. Travis and his sons head back to their cabin home, but plan to visit when they can. Pat and Travis meet before they leave, and Travis tells Pat how he can be contacted. We listen to Jim's reports without a miss. If you need us for something, tell Jim that he's more than welcome to drop by. If you're having a special event and want us to send us an invite, just tell him that he's welcome to drop by. We'll come up for Sunday services every other week and all the regular holidays. Sounds like a good plan, Pat says. We'll miss seeing you more often, but understand the fuel shortage. Be careful on the roads. Travis, Willie, Greg, and Pete shake hands with Pat and several others that come by to say farewell. As they get into their truck for the drive home, Christy and Stephanie hand each of the men a box of fresh-made chocolate chip cookies to tide them over until they make it back. Willie says, "Ladies, you're going to spoil us rotten, but it's the best rotten I've ever felt. Thank you." "Us too," say Pete and Greg. "Thanks." The engine starts and Travis slowly pulls out. We're waving as though we'll never see them again. But even 2 weeks seems like a long time to be away from friends. Terlingua is not without its challenges. Finding a corral for the goats is not a problem, but making it so the goats can't walk right out is. These are horse corrals, but we make them work. The goats will just have to stay in their trailer until we get it adapted for them. A secluded cottage will serve well if we need an infirmary. For now, the medical center is at what we used to call the store. There are counters here, and for most needs, it's a centralized location. Anna and Jackie are setting things up. It's also where the new communication center is. Pat Wagner is busy setting up his ham radio gear and catches interest from Lucas. Lucas makes small talk as he helps Pat set up. "Your antenna is better than what we've been using. All we got is a shortwave set, so we don't get much talk. We don't get to talk, just listen. Still, we hear a guy 3 times a week and he tells the news. It helps." Pat is intrigued. "That wouldn't happen to be XF1FNF and a guy named Jim, would it?" "That's the guy. You listen to him too?" Lucas asks. Pat stops to give Lucas his full attention. "Jim is our contact in Mexico. He's actually a remote part of our group. We'll be able to talk with him tomorrow. I'm sure he'll be glad to know there are others who listen for him." "I'm not the only one," Lucas says. "Most of the ranchers out here tune him in. It's a big help to know at least something of what's going on in other places." As Pat and Lucas work on running the antenna wire outside, Lucas has an idea. "You know, a while back, we had a 3-legged metal pole that hung a light for the store. It was handy, but took away from the looks of things. Didn't belong in a ghost town. Well, that don't matter now, and I bet it'd suit hanging your wire on. Let me see if I can lay hands on it." Lucas comes back with good news. "I found it. A couple of your young men are bringing it around. It was in the back of one of the buildings next to a horse shed. It bolts on a cement pad right outside of this window." Pat goes out to look at what is obviously a 40-foot communications tower. "Lucas, I think you just found a gold mine. This is exactly what we need to set up a really good antenna." Bolted down to the concrete pad, the tower needs no other support. Pat rigs a carbiner to act as a pulley and a rope to pull the antenna once the tower is in place. Pat turns to Lucas and says, "Care to spend a sleepless night listening to ham radio? I bet we can snoop the world for news." "When you want to start?" asks Lucas. Pat replies, "How about 9? We should be able to work Europe by then." "Good by me," says Lucas. Pat asks, "It's none of my business, but I'm interested in how you and Adelaide found your way out here to this place. Terlingua is unique, and you meet a lot of interesting people, but yours is hardly an occupation you would find in a jobs listing. Is it a good story?" "Some think so," he says. "I've come from serving in Korea. All the news was on Vietnam, but I ends up in Korea just the same. I was young and a bit disheartened by how we was treated by the government. Folks back home never knew what we had did, and then we was just dumped out on and sent packing by the army. Heroes one day and extra bags the next. Discharged, they call it. More like tossed out. I bought me a motorbike and went driving. No place special, just seeing places. I come by this place, and here was Adelaide, working tables and anything else that needed doing. Her folks started the place, so she come along as free help. Our eyes met, and I was done. I stayed and worked for room and board till Adelaide got convinced to marry me. We ran off, intending to make a life away from here, but it didn't take. This place called us back. No place else ever fit. We couldn't get comfortable anywhere else, so we come back. When Adelaide's folks passed, we took over. Been here ever since. Pat smiling. That's a great story. I don't know that I've heard a better one. You and Adelaide are both blessed to have found each other. Thanks for sharing it. Nikki is setting up the mailboxes from camp and has found a place over the counter for the Community Information Board. Marge Wagner helps her as they chat about the biggest news to hit since they all arrived, Anna and Jason's baby. Marge mentions first, have you heard when the baby is due? Nikki replies so quickly that it has obviously been on her mind too. No, does Anna even know for sure? I heard from Jackie that it was a surprise to both of them. Just as Marge was about to answer, Melinda Wagner walks in and joins her mother-in-law and Nikki. Marge greets her. Hello, dear. We're just talking about when Anna's baby will come. Melinda jumps right into the conversation. How exciting. Being a nurse, at least she can give herself a good care. All the ladies laugh as several more women walk into the building and join the conversation. Questions, comments, predictions fill the room until they spot Jackie and Anna about to enter the room. Everything goes from full cackle to a graveyard hush in a quarter second. Anna looks over at the silent group and says, half a dozen ladies gathered in one place and nobody has anything to say? Now I wonder who you could have been talking about before I walked up. Nikki speaks up. You, silly, get over here and tell us about the baby. We're dying for news, like a bunch of gossiping old hens. All the women laugh again as Pat turns to Lucas and says, let's get out of here. This place is going to be busy for a while. As Lucas goes out the door with Pat, he turns and asks with a high-pitched voice, so, Pat, when you suppose the baby will be born? Pat and Lucas just laugh and keep on walking. The meeting after dinner is more of a jam session for speculation, but it does provide focus for the group. Dad starts off. Thanks again to everyone for helping out and making things work. Lucas and Adelaide, on good advisement, I'm assured that every shower in Terlingua has been tested. The room erupts into raucous laughter. Dad continues, as nice as Terlingua will be to winter in, we must remember that spring will come and that we are in the midst of a desert. Without extensive supply of outside resource, it cannot support our numbers, and we must make plans for migration to sustainable land. Some may choose to remain with the group, but some may have plans more fitting to their individual needs and circumstances. What we each need to do is actively think of what our desires and plans will be and to voice them so that others may act accordingly. Would it be appropriate to ask that we each state our intentions in 2 weeks? Sam Elliott stands and is recognized. Matt, before I say anything, I want to personally thank you for your care of this motley crew and that we now call a family. Applause and some cheers fill the room and subside as Sam continues. I'm not the least in doubt that many of us would not be here today, but for your generosity and kindness. Personally, the thought of leaving has not crossed my mind, though eventually we all need to cross that bridge. One thought I do wish to share is that spring comes early in these parts, and 2 weeks is a long time. I recommend we shorten that to 1 week. If we all take the time to work on it, I think we can know what we will do in that time frame. Paul Sayers says, I second that. Dad responds, well, we have never been sticklers for Robert's Rules of Order, but we do have a motion on the floor and a second. Are there any questions or further discussions regarding the subject? Nikki stands, recognized. Some decisions may change based on the decisions of others. I have family that may still be alive in Montana, but I have no way to get there. If I could ride with a family going that way, I might decide to join them, but wouldn't know of that possibility until decisions are due. How can we address this potential situation? Dad replies, "Good point, Nikki, and I pray your family as well as we do for all our extended families. I believe the first wave of decisions will be the most difficult, with contingent plans a bit easier. Let's not hold the 1 week plan as final and allow the second week for alterations to those plans. Is that acceptable by all?" After a loud response, Dad continues, "It appears unanimous, but any opposed, same sign." No response is heard. Well, that carries it. That evening in their room, Mom eases herself into a soaking tub of hot water and bath salts. She is taken with how luxurious it feels and how romantic the room looks in candlelight. As she relaxes and lets herself unwind, she feels just a twinge of guilt that she has perhaps the only tub in Terlingua. Maybe she should tell, but not right away. After nearly 4 months of splash baths, a bathtub is simply amazing. Mom will sleep well tonight. The community information board is rearranged, and clipboards are hung on nails at the bottom edge. The list with the most names is under the heading "Staying with the Group," but another is marked "Going to Mexico" and begins with Ramon and Imelda Ramos and their 3 children, Thomas, Lupe, and Zach. A third list begins under Texas Hill Country. On it are Bob and Lisa Isham with their 3 children, Trevor, Haley, and Amber. Under their names is Paul Sayer. No other lists appear for now, but there are asterisks by 3 names on the list to stay with the group. They are Nikki and Jackie Chambers, who are considering passage to Montana, and Stephanie Sweeney, who is looking for contact and perhaps travel to North Colorado. Some have not decided on a list yet, but some are still thinking it over. Others, such as Travis, Willie, and Greg, and Pete, will remain in the Big Bend area. Deciding where to go as a group is not an easy decision. It took us 2 trips to drive here from camp, and that was with trucks and trailers belonging to Travis and the Ishams and Paul Sayer. We need to find serviceable vehicles that can transport everyone and all cargo in one trip. Before that, we need to decide where that place will be. Our leadership team gathers in the dining area to discuss options. Harry speaks first. "I think we'll agree that north is about the only direction we can head. Mexico won't let us in." Smiles and chuckles come from several. "We also have to avoid metropolitan areas." Harry lays out a map of the southwestern United States with oblong circles reaching north of Houston and Dallas-Fort Worth. These circles are the radiation hot zones emanating from nuclear power plants. Prevailing winds are estimated to establish the zones. We're lucky in this part of the country. There isn't much of the eastern U.S. that isn't hot. You can see that in the west, we have a good pathway between the zones. Next, we need an area that can support dryland farming because irrigation systems won't be running. I've rated farming communities that look favorable from 1 to 5 according to attributes of consistent weather, prime agricultural farmland that will support dryland farming, isolated from metropolitan areas and within 1,000 miles of here. We all look over the map as Fred Livingston comments, "Good job, Harry. Why didn't you rate the Lubbock area very high?" "Never mind, I know already. Except for the new cotton, everything needs irrigation." "Not that anywhere can't have drought," Dad says, "but we're certainly more prone to it down here. I agree that things look a lot better up in Kansas, but that's nearly 1,000 miles. Getting us all there with our equipment is going to be a challenge. Currently, we don't have vehicles to make the trip. We'll need a scouting trip, too." Sam Elliott has been pondering the road trip requirements. Sam is a logistician and gifted at working out details, which no doubt lent to his success as a project manager at OSI. "I figure a scout trip in late February will be about the earliest the weather will let us travel that far north. By then, I doubt many hostiles will have survived, and those who prepared should start coming out again. We could send a work truck with 2 extra barrels of diesel and a Ranger on the trailer for backup. That should be enough fuel for the trip, as long as the roads are passable and bridges still standing. A team could make the trip and back in a week. They'd have 3 days to scout the area. Okay, says Harry. Do we have a rough plan to put before the group? It's still rough, but it's a plan, says Fred, and we all agree to offer it to the group the next meeting. I find Anna and we take some time for a walk together. Anna's pregnancy is showing, and I think she looks beautiful. How are you feeling? I ask. Anna is simply glowing and replies, Well, I didn't think I was having any morning sickness, but now the off feeling I was having has gone away. Maybe that was morning sickness. At any rate, it's gone, and I'm feeling better. Anna stops walking and puts my hand on her tummy. Can you feel that? I just felt the baby move. I wait a moment, and there it is. I feel that. There really is a baby in there, and I thought you were just eating too many cookies. Anna's mood suddenly changes as she turns to me and says, Jason, do you think I'm fat? Do I look ugly to you? I've not seen Anna like this before. She isn't playing with me or angry. She's genuinely unsure and vulnerable. I've hit a soft spot in her Viking armor as I realize how much she needs my protection during this time. In my most sincere voice, I take her in my arms. Anna, you have never been more attractive to me than right now. The sight of you carrying our baby is the most beautiful image I will ever, and I will cherish it forever. Your skin glows, your hair glistens, your eyes sparkle, and you are doing all that while growing our baby inside you. I couldn't love you more, and I'm excited to be your husband and lover. Her arms squeeze a hug around my chest, and I can detect some wet spots on my shirt. Anna sheds tears as she says, I love you. Nothing more needs saying. We slowly continue our walk and end up on a rise that affords a vista of the surrounding landscape. She says, This place has its own kind of beauty, but I'm glad we're not going to live here. I could get real tired of all this, especially after it gets hot. Have you guys come up with any ideas where we can go? I reply, Harry has a map identifying areas to stay clear of and areas with prime farmland. It'll help narrow the field to make an ultimate decision easier for the group, but it's looking pretty good for rural Kansas. Kansas? Anna has her smile back. Isn't that where Dorothy and Toto got into trouble? I pull Anna to me again for another hug. You are my amazing wife, and I love you. Thanksgiving arrives, and we purpose to keep our thoughts on what we have to be thankful for and not on failings of our government or the acts of an unbridled society. We hold services in the restored Ghost Town Chapel, and Alan Duncan delivers a really challenging message. I think Alan may have found his calling. It feels good to be in a real church again, even though the pew benches have no backs on them. Our group nearly fills the space, and our singing never sounded better, reverberating off the high stone walls. The chapel is restored to host special events and weddings, but to have it serve as a church again somehow feels so right. After all the work to restore the building, it looks as though now the spirit of this place is restored. However, I'm not sure how long we will continue to use the chapel as it's not heated. Anna and I sit together with her wearing the beautiful green maternity dress that Rita sent and a blanket for us to both sit on and wrap over our shoulders for warmth. I'm thankful for the 2 weeks we spent in Hawaii before sailing Intrepid. I had packed some nice clothes for dinners, and I'm wearing them again for the first time since we left Hawaii. They aren't designed for this cold, but at least they look nice. I'm also thankful for a warm-blooded pregnant wife to sit with on a chilly Sunday morning. Thanksgiving must also have come for the many feral hogs around Terlingua. Neither Bob Isham nor Brent Palmer managed to bag one for our feast. Adelaide Maxwell saves the day. From the back of their pantry, she pulls out 3 country hams and 2 canned hams. Stephanie Sweeney and Christy Duncan join with Adelaide to put together a magnificent feast with mashed potatoes and gravy, ham, deviled eggs, sweet potatoes, topped with marshmallows, biscuits, and even pumpkin pie served with real coffee. Lucas had never seen or tasted Milo flour, but everyone understood his comment. I don't know what the women done with the biscuits and pie crust, but it were plumb fit. It's late afternoon, and the sun is already starting down. We eat late, and some food is still out. If anyone could possibly be hungry. We don't need another meal today. Sitting with Anna in the dining area, where everyone seems to congregate, she starts the conversation. I've noticed a conspicuous not noticing of Scott and Roxy. Have you? Now that you mention it, they've been real quiet and to themselves lately. What do you think is up? I'm not sure, says Anna. Scott is spending all his time with her, and she doesn't seem to mind. In fact, she's got that Twitter-pated look about her. This might be getting more serious. George and Jackie seem to be falling more in like with each other, too, I add. We could be having ourselves a situation. Might even have to ordain us a minister. Anna's look is priceless. It's a cross between shock and realization of natural occurrences. Her response says volumes. Maybe this is the start of a new beginning. Maybe it's the hope we all need. There's not a lot to do during winter in Terlingua. The hunting teams seem busy and are bringing in some fresh game, but we aren't pressed to build or solve as many problems like we were at camp. Mostly we're waiting for spring. To pass time, we do chores for the Maxwells and listen to shortwave radio for news. The news isn't good. Canada is holding on but not thriving, and Mexico is struggling to maintain. It appears a lot of countries depended more on U.S. economy than they care to admit. Europe is in shambles. England, France, Spain, Ireland, Italy, and Portugal are consumed with domestic troubles with Islam. Greece and Turkey have fallen. Open fighting by insurgents against the European police and regular army is hampered by borders that they won't cross, but terrorists do. The Middle East is erupting in continued battles. Each Arab country is taking shots at Israel, only to find retaliation with force. Without U.S. aid, a battle of attrition will favor the Arabs. The only thing slowing the attacks is that without the U.S. economy and its thirst for Arab oil, they lack capital to buy advanced weaponry, and even Russia is strapped to produce enough for their own campaigns, much less sell any to Islamic states. Most former Eastern Bloc nations have been recovered by Russia, and China has taken Taiwan and its surrounding islands in an expanded new empire. America is seen as a wasteland that no one wishes to visit. What's left of the American military is suspected to be harboring near the West Coast, as the eastern half of the country is biologically unsafe. There is still concern that an invasion of American military could bring a response from missile silos deep in the hardened sites with their own power sources. For now, foreign invasion seems remote. America's population loss is considered by most credible sources to be at or perhaps more than 80%. To think all this change has happened in 4 short months, I'm deeply saddened as I grieve for a once great nation that started with God as her head. Here in the southern tip of America, everything seems so far away. Technology made the world a smaller place. I could board a jet and in a day be solving oil field problems for some remote country halfway around the world. Today, the world is large again, and our greatest problems are right here in a little town called Terlingua. Without a lot of chores, morning comes on its own. There's little reason to rise early. Stephanie and Christy have more than enough volunteers to help in the kitchen, and the Palmer girls have taken to washing all the dishes just to have something to do. Winter is a slow time. Extra sleep and a reduced workload is good for Anna, though. She seems to need more sleep as the baby grows. She needs more time to eat, too, but it's all going to the baby. Christmas is coming, but there is no shopping center or money to buy with. Anna and I are sharing notes from what we observe. She says it seems everyone is being sneaky about something. There are signs of craft projects in process, but nothing to see. A lot more sewing is going on. The ladies have gone to time sharing for the treadle sewing machine. Irene Livingston has found a sudden interest in her teaching a knitting class. Several women and young ladies all seem to have something important to do, but when you ask them what they're doing, they say, "Oh, nothing." The guys aren't much better, I say. I find shavings of wood carving everywhere, but no object of their efforts. A whole pile of shredded and tanned rabbit furs suddenly went missing, but the owner of said furs wasn't complaining. There were even some extended absences that were unaccounted for. But when concern is made to leadership, they say it's okay and not to worry. Alan Duncan is even up to something with Scott and George. Figure that one out. There's some Christmas hustle afoot, and I think it's maintaining sanity for an otherwise stir crazy group. Winter weather is bringing lower temperatures, and many in our group didn't pack for it. The July bug out wasn't supposed to last this long, and a lot of people thought they would be returning home. Most of our former homes are now in the Houston hot zone, so we have all we're going to get from there. Jim and Rita send a few things, but Baja, Mexico is no place to shop for winter clothing. I locate Harry and talk this over. Harry, I have concern with the spring trip up north. Harry is good-natured and easy to talk with. He keeps an open mind. Just one? I like that. I thought it ought to be easier to solve than all the ones I have. What's on your mind? The weather is getting colder, and I've noticed a lot of our group don't have much in the way of warm clothing. If we're cold down here, how do we plan to stay warm through a Midwest winter? Good call, but you're not first to come up with it, he says. We expect to pass through some towns and suburbs of cities that are uninhabitable, but should have a lot of clothing that held little value during the collapse. We'll be doing some careful scavenging as we go, but only by select teams. What they'll have to sift through to find what we need won't be a sight for children's eyes. I don't think any of us will like what we see. Aren't we avoiding populated areas, I ask? We are, he says, but the trip will be 8 months after collapse. There won't be airborne pathogens to worry about. We'll bring our own water, keep to the road. The scavenging teams will use gloves, and everything will be washed before use. The real threat will be contaminated groundwater. I wouldn't even trust a sealed well within 50 miles of a heavily populated area. We're already working a list of high priority items to look for. Sounds like you're working out the bugs. Thanks for the insight. When it comes time, count me in for the team. Thanks, Jason. I'll do that. It's appreciated. Our Christmas dinner and celebration last nearly the whole day. We hold services in the theater dining hall since both day and night temperatures have dropped nearly 10 more degrees. It's comical to see members of our group wearing socks for mittens and towels for scarves. Each person seems to have at least one secret bundle with them. Bob and Brent snare a feral hog that dresses out at 100 pounds. It's too cold for anyone to volunteer watching an outdoor pit barbecue, or maybe it's that they don't want to be away from all the people inside. Either way, the pig is quartered and roasted in the gas oven. Gift exchanges are private, but they occur all over the dining room. Lucas and Adelaide seem to have withdrawn from the group to sit to one side, but several children and some adults seek them out to give them gifts from the heart. The look of unexpected joy on their faces is truly what Christmas is about. I do believe I see some tears in Lucas's eyes. Adelaide can't speak much, but she sure passes out the hugs. There are knitted scarves, mittens, socks, and 2 sweaters, several hand-sewn shirts, and a well-made pair of work pants gifted. Carved toys and decorations for a wall explain the mounds of shavings I saw. Bob Isham steals the heart of every younger lady in the room when he gives rabbit fur mufflers to all 7 girls under the age of 16. Then he gives his wife Lisa a beautiful rabbit fur jacket. The gifts go on, and not a single person goes without at least one. Then from the corner of the room, Roxanne lets out a scream. All eyes shift to find Roxanne sitting on a bench seat and Scott kneeling in front of her. She has just opened a small box, and in it is a handcrafted ring. Though no one but Roxanne has heard what Scott said, everyone hears her excited scream and instant answer, "Yes, I will marry you," with the whole room breaking into a mix of applause, clamor, congratulations, and a rush to greet the newly engaged couple. Anna's expression is joyful but not surprised. Her words say it all. Saw that coming, didn't we? There's little hope of getting anywhere near Scott and Rocky for a while, so Anna and I sit by ourselves as she expresses some concern. I've been thinking this over. How do we make marriages without any license or documentation. I mean, will it be legal? I take a moment to compose a good answer. Well, there have been marriages made for long before the government poked their nose into things. I guess we can do without them again. One marriage from the Bible has always piqued my interest. When Isaac married Rebekah, all that's recorded is that she got off the camel, Isaac took her into his mother's tent, and they became husband and wife. Anna has a provocative smile as she says, "What? Not even a rabbi, no ceremony, no tax deductions?" Joining her humor, I add, "And not even a wedding cake or reception. That's not right. You got to have a reception. And if there's a marriage, you got to have dancing and a cake." After a pause, I continue. For generations, the record of marriages in a family was in the front page of the family Bible. The government only got into it for tax purposes. Taxes were the only claim for licensing or regulation. After that, they took the ball and ran with it. Until today, most think the state is the authority. Anna's smile drops to a more serious look. And they made sacrilege of it, and with divorce rulings, consensual polygamy, and gay marriage. Marriage belongs to the church. The government should never have been allowed use of the term. We should have limited them to civil unions. It would have stopped a lot of problems. So how are we going to facilitate this biblical marriage? I don't think Scott should just take Rocky to his tent. I'm chuckling. No, I doubt Scott, Rocky, or anyone else would feel comfortable with that. Like I mentioned, Alan may have found a new calling. We began Church of the Bend without a pastor, but we seem to have one by default. Alan has done a great job, and everyone enjoys his spiritual attention. If he's willing, maybe we need to make it official. A church answers to God and is granted authority to approve and call leaders. We don't need outside approval. No sooner does the commotion settle down over Scott and Rocky's engagement than another announcement is made. This time it's George Harden standing on a chair calling for everyone's attention. First, I want to congratulate Scott for catching Rocky, and at a moment of indiscretion, in her acceptance of his proposal. Low laughter is heard among most of us, but smiles are everywhere. However, with stunning forethought and anticipation of stealing half their wedding cake, I have asked Jackie Chambers to marry me, and she has said yes. Jackie is beaming, Nikki is hugging her neck, and pandemonium again engulfs the room. I stand, applaud, and turn to Anna and say, "We better make Alan official. He's getting behind." And tomorrow we will pick this up again. Thanks for listening.